Welcome to the John Mathewson podcast, where faith meets entrepreneurship and growth takes center stage. I'm your host, John Mathewson, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this journey with you. In this space, we explore the powerful intersection of business, faith, and personal development. Whether you're a kingdom-minded entrepreneur, a seeker of wisdom, or someone looking to transform your life and business from the inside out, you're in the right place. Each episode, we dive deep into the principles of kingdom business, mindset mastery, and actionable strategies to help you flourish in your entrepreneurial endeavor. We believe that success in business and life isn't just about profit. It's about purpose, and we were created with a specific purpose. So if you're ready to be inspired, to learn from thought leaders, and to uncover the secrets of business growth, guided by faith and values, then join me on this journey. Let's explore, learn, and grow together. Welcome back. It's the end of the week here, and excited to kind of end the week on more of a challenge, something that we've learned in marriage, that I've learned in marriage, and excited to dig in, walk through it. Hope everyone had a good week, and going into the weekend, hope you have a restful weekend, but also productive weekend, right? So today we're going to talk about oneness. And my wife and I have written a book about our story entitled Oneness. And so today's podcast is not going in depth. This is not necessarily the launch or anything, although it is done. We're just having some people read through it to make sure it makes sense. Who knows? And it's helpful. That's our goal, right? And, but one of the things that in rereading it, editing it, it's a nightmare. It's a big process, especially someone who details really wear me out and they tire me. So it's a lot to push through. But one of the things that really became apparent while we were going through this book was, playing roles in marriage. And so that's kind of what I want to discuss today is the danger of playing a role. And so I'll probably talk more just in marriage because this is the context that we wrote it on and that it meant a lot to us. But this certainly comes into effect in any relationship, any role that you develop and you start to play. And so, the question really is like, have you ever felt like you or your spouse are just going through the motions? You can feel like that at work too, but especially in a close relationship, marriage, husband and wife. I remember early on in our marriage, it wasn't early on, you had the honeymoon phase, which is beautiful and fun, and everything's new, especially for us coming out of our background. A lot of the stuff is new. We didn't get to necessarily experience or do a lot of the things that, maybe other teenagers have or haven't done. And so just a whole lot of new, and it's fun. And then inevitably, right, you kind of fall into a pattern. You fall into this, these roles that you're supposed to play. And you don't know it necessarily, but the roles are based on just kind of what you saw growing up. And you just start living life like you saw done, and you kind of fall into these roles. And so, if you're like us, our parents, it was still very much part of the world or the ecosystem. They had this paradigm of the breadwinner and the homemaker, right? Those are such triggering words anymore. Like society and culture has made that mean so many different things. I'm not going down that, but that was what we saw from our parents. And so early on in the marriage, that's the role that I thought I was supposed to wear. And so I'm the breadwinner. I'm supposed to go out, conquer these things, and also your wife stays at home. So she has her hands full, right? Good grief, ladies do a lot around the house. And I don't just mean that rearing kids, like living their own life, prioritizing themselves as well. Laundry, good grief, dishes, like it's never ending and exhausting, right? And so what happens is we fall into these roles, and they're just like these hamster wheels, right? And that's where my wife and I were, that it gets exhausting, right? But it was all we knew, looking back, we would have said that our marriage, we would have ranked it like a 7 out of 10. Like, we have a great marriage for what we knew was possible. And I think that's the key phrase. Like, sometimes we just don't know different things are possible, and that's really important. So side note, like exposing yourself to different groups, different books, different lines of thinking, and learning to develop like how to navigate and how to reason through different topics and different belief systems is incredibly valuable, because it's gonna be a mirror to you and what you believe, and help you see what may or may not be right, or not, probably not right or wrong, but may or may not be best for you. And so, that's where my wife and I found ourselves years into marriage, just the cultural stereotypical couple. We would go on a date night and we would inevitably be the couple on the phone, and we didn't have much to talk about. I wasn't supposed to talk about work, supposedly, in these stereotypes, right? I'm not saying somebody's told me that, but it was certainly implied. And so inevitably we're like these two silos sitting across from each other, and what do we talk about? And thank goodness at some point, we had a kid, because then we could at least talk about the kids. So for 3 to 5 minutes we had some conversation going about it, and catching up on the kiddos, but it's so devastating to fall into these roles, especially when they're unspoken, right? I think what we realized was that it wasn't so much that there are roles. I think roles in the marriage are important. You have to have like responsibilities and agreements, right? Like that stuff is real and healthy. The problem is when we don't talk about it, and we just start expecting the other person to do certain things, and that is where just breeds a lot of things: contentment, bitterment, resentment. People get hurt, feelings get hurt, because we're not voicing what our expectations are. So inevitably what you see, right? And we've all done it. We've all been there. And if we're not careful, I think that's why I'm bringing it up. Like if we're not careful, we can fall back into these patterns again, right? And so it's like, the man is the strong, quiet guy, or maybe he's outgoing, but he's the strong, masculine guy. He doesn't have emotions. He doesn't feel things deeply. He doesn't connect on that deep, intimate level. He's not vulnerable, because he's got to go out and be this person where goes out and conquers and does that. And again, don't hear the other side of this, right? That is a part of it. We do have a responsibility as men to provide for our families. I do believe that. But it's so easy to allow that to become our only identity. And it's not our true identity. It's just a part of it. And so what slowly happens is this mask goes up, and our emotions, our connections, our deep, intimate, vulnerable, authentic self gets retracted, and we start being this macho male, persona that never has deep connections and doesn't have deep friends. I mean, I heard the other day, men, like anymore, if you could count 5 men that you're connected with on a deep level, like you are rare. Most men do not have that, and we're part of the problem. Like it's not, we make our own problem here, but the point is it exists, and we're not talking about it, and it doesn't get the mainstream because it's not the macho cultural Hollywood image of what a man is supposed to be. And so, early on, we found ourselves in this trap, and then you have, the spouse usually who's desperately looking for a connection with her husband on a deep level. She could care less probably about the providing. She would probably be totally fine with a lot less, right? If she could get that deep connection. And so not all the time. That's a blanket statement. I get that. I understand that. But the reality is there, right? And so we fall into these traps, and if we're not careful, a phrase I heard, growing up, we've all heard it, fake it till you make it. Like you just go through, you keep doing it until you just make it, and you fake your way there. And I get a part of that, right? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner, always launching several things. So like I get the part of like the idea of it, of faking it, making it until you can eventually one day make it, right? The practical side of that just doesn't play out well, because the faking part is disingenuine. It disassociates yourself from the real world, and you end up feeling like you have to play a part. And it just creates this like false imagery that we start putting out there. And you play that over and over again, and what happens is sooner or later, 5-10 years down the road, we don't know who we are. Welcome midlife crisis, right? Like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, I just fell into this and there's other reasons midlife crisis happens, and what that is, I'm not going into that today. But point is, we fall into these roles, and we all of a sudden find ourselves like 10 years down the road of, what happened? How did I get here? And we weren't aware that we were playing a role, and this mask was going up in front of our face, and of who we thought everybody wanted us to be. And in reality, it's who we want everybody to see us as. And it's not our full authentic self. Again, there's probably parts of it that are true and that are not wrong, but it's not our full self. And man, does this play a toll on relationships. It has drastic consequences on relationships, because you're not giving. Here's the crux of today, right? Like, you're not giving the other person the opportunity to like choose you. Like, that's part of our story, and it's for another podcast. But I had to get to a spot one day where I realized the things I was keeping, and men, we are guilty of this, and women are too. Nobody's oblivious to this or safe from it. Like, we like to put things in a box and pretend that it doesn't bleed out into other areas, and that doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. It might for a period of time, but our bodies weren't made to do that. And so that's a spoiler alert for the next episode. But our bodies hold on to that stuff too. Sorry, little tech problems here, and I'm going to have some coffee. So our bodies hold on to things, and when we don't, as humans, we don't like change normally, and so we really don't. And if something doesn't mean a lot to us, if we don't understand the cost, if it's not costing us a lot, or seemingly isn't costing us a lot, then we're probably not going to change. We're not going to do what's required to change. And again, that has implications in our life. And so part of what I wanted to do today was bring awareness that you might be living out one of these stereotypical roles, and it is having consequences on your life. And that's important to note. We don't ever drop that mask. We don't allow our spouse the opportunity to choose us for who we really are. And so it's no wonder why sometimes we have those questions of, is my spouse really being loyal to me? Can I really trust what my spouse is doing? Do they really want to be with me? Because we aren't even giving them the chance to know us truly for who we really are. So of course the enemy is going to use those questions to come in and find a crack inside of you, because you're not being authentic. And when we show up to relationships as a partial individual or a fractured individual, then we show up to that relationship needing something from the other person. And when we show up needing something from the other person, we're not showing up as our full self, which means we need them to do something for us, to validate us, to puff us up, to do whatever. Like, there's something inside of us that we need from them. And so that's where you get in these coexisting relationships where they're two broken people. And spoiler alert, two broken people don't make oneness. It doesn't work that way. Two whole people can come together and be one. But two fractured or broken individuals are not going to be able to fully achieve oneness, because they both are working through reconciling things on their own, and they're not giving the other person the opportunity to choose them, and because they're not showing up as who they truly are. And so the challenge is to give your spouse the opportunity. Yes, it could be difficult. Yes, there might be some hard things to work through, and there might be some pain and discomfort. But now you're finally giving your spouse the opportunity to actually love you for who you really are. And that is radically different than just loving the stereotype. Yeah, I love my wife. That's because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Like, that's my role. I'm supposed to do this. Yeah, why? It's like, yep, my husband provides for me. I mean, I love him. He provides for us, and that's just how it is. And like, but what if there was more? What if we could break out of these roles? And you can. What if you could show up to your marriage or to other relationships and not need something from the other person? What if I could show up as a parent to my children and not need anything from them? If I showed up whole, meaning I knew who I was, I'm representing who I am, they know who I am, I don't need validation from them because I'm not hiding anything from them. I'm not pretending to be something to them to where I always got to like try and present or be this image to them. I'm not doing that. I am who I am. I'm real and I'm authentic, and they know me, the good, the bad, the ugly. And as we grow, that continues to evolve in a relationship as well. But now I have the ability to show up as a parent, and I don't need my kids to do anything for me. I can coach them. I can show up 100% full for what they need. And the same thing in my relationship with my wife. If I wake up and I need her to get me out of bed, if I need her to do this or to do that, I'm already lost because I have expectations of what she's supposed to do. And again, I'm not talking about that we shouldn't have things that we each agree that, yes, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the unvoiced things of, I need you to do this. Like, if I'm going to perform, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to go out and do this, then you got to do this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You lost. Your Creator made you perfect. Hear me. If you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, you are perfect. You have everything inside of you that you need to be whole. And that's on you. Draw the circle around yourself. It's another thing we talk about in our book. Draw a circle around yourself. Stop trying to fix your spouse and point to her or the other person in the relationship. Take responsibility for you. We do this with our kids and their teachers. We do this in our relationship, with our relationships outside, with each other. Like, stop always trying to fix the other person. Like, good grief, politics. Okay, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But if we stop trying to fix the other person and always pointing the finger, and we just worried about inside of our circle, let's work on us. And then we could show up whole to situations and not need validation or this or that from another person, because Christ is everything that we need and you have it inside of you. Then your life can be radically different. You can show up whole. You can experience relationships untethered from expectations, and it's beautiful. But you gotta break out of these stereotypical roles. This is what intimacy is. True intimacy, right? I know we're talking a lot about marriage, but it could be any relationships. Specifically marriage though, right? So what is intimacy? The most beautiful definition I've ever heard of it is, into me you see. We're never going to truly be intimate with our wife, with our spouse, if we're not allowing them to truly see who we are. Men, I'm talking to us. If we don't let them in on our fears, our concerns, our worries, our emotions, they're there. Stop telling yourself that you don't have emotions. It's a lie. They're there. You just buried them for years and you haven't paid attention to them. It's like you're literally putting a piece of tape over the check engine light on your car. It's ludicrous. Every man would say that you didn't do anything except hide it. You hear me here? You hear the connection here? Stop putting a tape over your emotions. They're real. Don't fight them. Just understand them. They're telling you something that's going on. And then invite your spouse into that. Be real, be open, be vulnerable. Allow the other person to choose you for who you really are, and break outside of these playing the roles, because it will not end well. You're going to continue to walk around and feel what you're feeling. I'm disconnected. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I still in this relationship to even know who I am? I don't even know how to start a conversation with her, because you don't know this, you don't know this or this. How do I even communicate with you? And then the wife's looking at you like, every time I try to bring something to you, you try to go solve the problem, and I just wanted to talk to you. I didn't want you to, right? We have all of this angst, like, because we need something from the other person in the role that we expect them to play, and we're not talking about it. Oneness is when two individuals can be whole with the Lord and then come together, and you can experience a beautiful relationship. So that's my challenge to you. Invite your spouse in to that conversation and explore it together. You guys can walk through this together, and it's a beautiful thing. Love you all. Hope you have a great week. Crush it this weekend. Thank you for being a part of our journey. Together, we can encourage and empower others to lead with faith, purpose, and impact. So until our next episode, keep pursuing your dreams, stay faithful to your values, and remember, you are never alone on this path.